So if you don't know me, my name is Alexia, and I started working with the 29er just now in September, so only a month. And normally I work full time for the 49er and the NACRA 17, and I cover their events. So I go to the World Championships, the Europeans, all the World Cups. And if you follow social media, I'm the one doing the interviews and all the graphics and posting everything everywhere. And the reason why I wanted to do these calls, hopefully have more in the future with other athletes as well, is to kind of connect the 29er with the 49er and hopefully, I can get people to know each other and it can get less scary for 29ers to do that jump into the 49er. And hopefully the people you will speak with and hear from, it will inspire you to maybe go on the Olympics. Ooh, if you could mute yourselves until you will have time for questions later. So if you guys can go on mute and Gabriel and I will have a conversation, I'll ask him some questions. I also got some questions from Facebook that I will ask him from you guys, and then you will have time to ask all your questions. That's me for the introduction. And Gabriel, I'll tell you a little bit about Gabriel if you don't know who he is. He's the crew in the 49er team for Brazil with Marco Grael, who maybe you've heard of. Marco Grael is now newsflash, he's in SailGP, correct, Gabriel? He just so that's cool. And Gabriel sailed in the 29er in Brazil for 5 years. From our conversations in the past, that's what I remember, but you can tell us more about it. And then you guys qualified for Paris at the last chance regatta in Hyères, which was in April this year, and you guys finished third. So Gabriel will tell us his whole story, how he started sailing and how he got to the Olympics, a bit how he felt through the whole process, and he'll also give you guys some tips on to how to get there. So maybe let's start with the early years and how you got into sailing and transitioned from the 29er to the 49er. So yeah, tell us a bit, how you got into sailing. Was it your parents? And what 29er?
Well, I started sailing like with 11 years. It was a little bit late. A lot of people here probably started sailing earlier, but it was like in a bit and interference of my parents, who told me to do in sport and always support me on that. And as we live close to the club here, I go experience sailing. Never had any experience by family with this before, so I was the first of my family going there and adventure on the sea. So with my 11 years, I entered in Optimist and did my beginning till 15 years. I did not get any great results on Optimist. I mostly was enjoying like the time with my fleet, with the guys in my club, and enjoying that period. Today I see the Optimist as much closer to a Olympic campaign than having fun. Mostly here in Brazil and in other countries I don't have the space to say it, but in here I believe most of the times most of the parents, because the kids probably just want to have fun, but the parents stay a lot closer with the competition and like doing the maximum effort to the kids go to the higher top. And I was just trying to have fun, and this motivates me a lot to go to the 29er as well. I, with 15, go to 29er. I continue to sail here in the south of Brazil on a small lake with no waves and a lot of cold in the winter. But it was a really, really big school for me, the 29er. I enjoyed a lot the process.
Can you tell us a bit
I
more about can you tell us a bit more about the things that you did learn in the 29er, like even life lessons? What did you
yeah,
get
but
in the 29er?
yeah, but in the 29er, like I started knowing what it is to be responsible with your boat, with your stuff. Like it is a boat that requires a lot of maintenance and a lot of attention to how of the boat work is, and the 49er is much closer to that than an non-skiff boat. And like I believe I started knowing that I really like the competition part of the sport, and not just the fun and the waves, the water, but actually the adrenaline of competing. And
Was there a
unfortunately, I
moment?
didn't get to any internationals in the 10-9er. I just stay here in Brazil. The year we qualified for the Worlds, it was pandemic, so I lost that opportunity. But it actually made me a lot of a better sailor by having this school on the 29er for 5 years.
And was there a moment when you were like, okay, now I want to get into the 49er, or was it kind of progressive and just the next best thing to do? Or was there like a moment when you did really well in a championship and you were like, okay, I want to do this like for forever, for my job?
I actually, it was a lot of coincidence, but the coincidence maybe happened because we are allowing them to come. And I was on my peak on 29er. I just won my first national championships, and I was already getting too big for the boat. And it just popped like a opportunity to go to 49er. And I got a lot interested in having the experience of going to an Olympic boat, maybe going to an Olympic circuit, and like it was all just a question of challenging myself, like doing something I love, and having a little more experience on living more of it. Like it was never a ambition like since early to go to the Olympics. It was never something that I had the imagination that it could be possible as it became in 2024. Mostly because of the infrastructure of the sailing here in Brazil and in the place that I live. It never was a big investment for it to go further, and I never saw it becoming true. So it was never a really big dream, but it became, because I saw that with effort we could make the things work, and eventually it worked to have this experience and going to the Paris Olympics.
Do you think, I believe a lot in manifesting, but do you think there was part of you that believed that you were capable of being an Olympian, and that's why this coincidence happened? Or you just never thought about it, even in the back of your mind?
Now, I believe that if I do my best, like great things could happen to this keeps to be my life. Like if I was liking what I was doing and I was investing my time, investing my knowledge to do it better, I believe that I can go further than I thought it was possible. And pretty much I believe that that's what happened. Like just trying to get the most of the process I was in, and eventually getting to live this experience.
And what do you think was the biggest challenge or the challenges of transitioning from the 29er to the 49er?
Uh, I believe for a crew there is much less challenges, but everything you will do is double. Like you do double the steps to cross the boat. You do double the how to say the arm things to put
A hoisting.
the hoisting to put the spinnaker up. So the strong you will do it's double. Like the boat work is double. So everything is just multiplies.
Does
But
the
the speed
49er,
multiplies as well.
the speed is doubled, yeah. Does the
Yeah.
49er have a lot more boat work than the 29er? Or is that also double?
I believe yes, but there's a point that in 49er I learned a lot with Marco, and our boat work in the boat was like for an Olympic level boat, and that I never did for a 29er. I always tried to put my boat on the edge of perfection, but the edge of perfection that I knew with 18 years. So it, it increases a lot when you are trying to put a boat in like all specific measurements and everything you could take from that boat to
Yeah,
work competitively.
we were in Marseille together for a few months before the Olympics, and all the Olympic teams were there. And the
Yeah.
amount of testing that people do
Yeah.
for the smallest details is just insane. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So let's move a bit to the Olympic journey and talk about that because that's really exciting and it just happened a few months ago. Can you
Yeah.
describe to us the moment when you qualified for the Paris Olympics? What was that like? I was there. It was a bit of a
Yeah.
roller coaster because at times you guys were a bit frustrated after a day of racing and then you came back with big smiles on your face. So tell us a bit about that event and how the qualification process was.
Yeah, we have like a small roller coaster in the last chance regatta on years. We had some peculiar issues on the 49er fleet from like they canceling some races that we never saw that happening before, and that was really like dragging us from our potential. We were already on a good spot in the championship, but like everything was looking like to put us down, like to create another difficulty on the journey. And me and Marco just keep believing it was possible and keep growing on the championship. It was the first championship on like international level, Olympic level that we got without doing a great mistake, a mess up start or something like that. And I believe that was the champion like we needed to do, and we did it as well as we could. And part of the roller coaster as well, it was because of the Brazilian team that did not confirm that the teams that got the spot would go to the Olympics. So at the same time, we are pretty happy to get the spot and to get third on the Olympic level championship. We got like, but we will go like it is confirmed like what's happening. So it was a lot of emotions and things to deal in the moment to process this happening.
Yeah, I think that happens with a lot of countries. I saw Germany had the same problem. They
Yeah.
didn't know. They also got their spot at the last chance regatta, and they didn't know if they were actually going to be sent to the
Yeah.
Olympics until a month before. So
Yeah.
it's a very stressful, and you need to be really mentally strong to be in the Olympic circuit and really be going for the Olympics. So maybe tell us a bit if you have any strategies or things that you and Marco do to kind of stay stable mentally and not spiral out of control or stress. Because at the end of the day, you're racing and
Yes.
you need to be focused, you need to be sharp. So all these things, yeah, they're super important, but how do you stay focused in all of this?
Yes. Yeah. I personally have a professional from psychology to help me. and it was a part of my journey in this Olympic stage to take care of my mental health. It was really, really important to keep the focus and to keep the mind on the big objective in this moment, because there will be a lot of challenges, a lot of things that will look like to drag us down. But I believe the most important thing that motivated me was that I loved what I was doing. Like most of the time I was like trying to improve and get better in the sail, like learning new things and just doing what I like. So it got the process a lot easier, like independent of the results of the any results. So I believe this was the big thing that kept me mentally prepared for this moment.
Yeah. And how else did you prepare for that moment? If you compare it to the 29er, like preparing for a regatta in the 29er, compared to preparing for the Olympics, what's different? What's similar? Yeah, how can you compare those two events?
It is it is really tough for me to compare, as I said, because of the reality we have here in 29er. Like we we here in the south of Brazil put our boats in a truck, like wait for 2 3 days till they go to the like Rio or São Paulo to, so we do the championship with every everyone. But most of the process in the 29er and things like that have a lot of people like with you. You are still young, you have like a team probably, and there's a lot of people like supporting and helping, and you like sharing that moment with them. But I noticed that in Olympic sailing it's much more by yourself than with people like at your side, and I believe this is a big difference. But if the 29ers and the young folks like start knowing that they should do the things for themselves, because the other people's like coaches and people like that of logistics wouldn't be there like in this next stage, I believe they will be better prepared.
Yeah. And what do you think in the 29er sailing in Brazil for 5 years? Do you think that played a role in your success in the 49er and qualifying for the Olympics? And what did you take from your experience in the 29er onto the 49er?
I
Skill.
believe a lot of the resilience that I taught on 29er. It was not a easy campaign on 29er as well. We got a lot of like disventions and breaks on the boat, and I had a lot of helms as well in my 29er period. But that I take from the boat mostly it was my dedication that I put it on the 29er. I was well willing to put on the 49er, and of course all the sailing that I learned in the boat. It was like pretty much everything used on this next stage.
And getting to sail with someone else, right? That's
Yeah.
The whole thing, I think, as an outsider, because I haven't sailed either of the boats. Well, I did try, but I'm not a sailor. I see the teamwork is very important, and your connection with your teammate, you have to invest in that as well, right? Because if you don't have a good connection with your partner on the boat, then you're not going to sail well. I see people who are getting into fights or arguing, they're not performing well. Whereas the ones that
Yes.
are having fun, they love to spend time with each other, those those people start performing well. So how do you, let's say, maybe this is an advice for younger people, and I'm sure there are like new teams and all that maybe that will be listening. How do you work on that relationship, and what are important things to look out for?
Yeah, I believe the most important word you said it is that it is a relationship. We use it as well that it is like a wedding, because you will be spending a lot of time with that person, and you will need to understand their difficulties, their mistakes, and they will need to understand yours as well to make it happen. Like, it is a two-way process. Like, both of the people in this relationship will need to open to like take care of each other to make it happen and to make it work. But I believe like you in this young age, like, experiment, like, try to stay with these people, like, know these people better, and adventure in this process. Like, it is not easy because you are like starting a relationship with someone because of your goals. So there is something more important with that relationship, and it normally is the thing that causes the stress, because you not necessarily are with the other people because you like, because you love them, but because you too have the potential and the objective to get somewhere. Uh, but I will say that you should try to learn these people, like, try to understand and try to get better in this process as well, of understanding them and relations as well. Like, it is a life lesson for sure.
Yeah. And what advice would you give young sailors who are sailing in the 29er now, the ones on this call and maybe potentially on the YouTube if they look at this, to what advice would you give them if they're aspiring to compete at the Olympics? Big question, but I'm sure you have some.
No, I will say to do it. Like, there is any reason for you not to try it. Uh, a lot of people will say to you that it's not easy, that it's really hard. But I will say to do it, to experiment it. Like, I started doing because I love it and not because I wish to get somewhere. And I believe this was the really big thing that got me there, because I was willing to get to my best and not like to an Olympic, not to a podium. And this keeps me growing without the a lot of mental pressure of this whole process that is. But if you don't try it now, like getting out of a 29er, you will not try it later. So enjoy this moment and get these people that are sailing with you on 29er to try it as well. And I mean, challenge yourself. Like, the worst that could happen, you will have some good memories.
Exactly. Well, that's a great ending for that, for the advice. Maybe let's move to something a bit lighter. I just have a couple of questions left, and then I'll leave you guys to your questions if you have any. Um, what has been your favorite sailing memory so far? Doesn't necessarily have to be the 49er or the 29er. Favorite sailing memory.
It is like really, really tough to think in a favorite memory, but I mean, the I believe that I can bring one for each boat that I compete, like an Optimist, 29er, and 49er, because it is really complex to have just one good memory when you are enjoying all this new process and all this next phase stuff. But
Yeah,
on
let's
Optimist
talk
for
about
sure was my first time sailing, like my first time going to the water, thinking that I will lose my weekends of playing at the condo and with my friends, and I just discovered that I could not stop sailing anymore. So it was a great moment for me. And 29er for sure winning the my first national. It was as well a championship that I highly knew that I deserved it and that I was prepared for it. And on that year, we already lost one championship because of some boat failure as well. That in part I know now that it is my fault. We could not explain this at the moment because some things that broke was not scripted to broke, but learning this in the Olympics, it will always be our fault and no one else's. But winning my first championship was like a really, really big step for me, and it was what made me believe that I could do a Olympic campaign and have fun with it. And probably on 49er was as well the qualification for the Olympics and the qualification for the Pan Am, because on the Pan Am was something that me and Marco was sailing for, I believe, 10 days. We just go for a championship on Vila Moura to see how we would settle and not do any training, go to Cabo Frio on Rio de Janeiro and manage to win the championship and get our spot on the Pan Ams. And it is what made us continue sailing together. Don't know if this would be possible without this spot. So eventually it made us go to the Olympics because of this partnership.
it's crazy
So
that you didn't sail together as a team for so long, and yet you
yeah,
made it to the Olympics.
yes.
So that goes to show that anything can happen.
It was a 1.5 year campaign, so
Yeah,
I have a lot
very
more
true.
to
And
experience.
on that, will you guys continue? Are you planning to do LA in the next Olympics?
I'm planning to do LA. We are thinking about how we will do it, if we'll do it together, if how the things will go. But I mean, I think I have some more experience to have with this Olympic circuit. Like, and I don't know, I'm willing to experience more
How
if
old
it's
are you?
possible. I am 22.
Oh, so you definitely have loads of time to experiment in 49.
Yeah, I have done a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And last question before I leave people to their questions. If you could race anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Yeah, that was the question that I was most thinking about as I saw your schedule. But I don't know. I usually say that the place that I'm most anxious to be is on the next place I will sail, like on the next place I will discover. And I'm hoping next year it is Greece on the world. No, the European or worlds. I don't believe it. I believe European. Then we have the worlds in Italy, and I believe like this position of interesting sales somewhere is like getting updated as I mark on my map that I already gone there. So it's a never stop process and just focusing on the next experience.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to see your progress because you're just at the start. So everybody, you can follow Gabriel on social media and you can follow the 49er class also if you don't already. And I'll be bringing you all the action from the Europeans and the Worlds and all the events next year, starting from Palma in March. Now,
Yeah.
if you guys have any questions, now is your chance. You can either put your microphones on or write in the chat for Gabriel. And in the meantime, I'm going to look for the questions that I got from social media. Any questions, anyone for Gabriel?
You can write on the comments as well
Yeah,
if
you
you
can write in
prefer.
the chat. We have a question from Vincius. 29er. Oh, it's in Brazilian, Portuguese.
Não é uma bobagem.
I can read it. 29er é o melhor barco que já velejou?
I believe it is from Vini.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was one of the best boats I sailed, but having the experience on the 49er, I believe the only thing that is a downside as the 29er for the 49er is that on the 29er I could sail myself, like in 15 knots I as well can go out alone and have fun without needing to have to schedule someone and have a sail. But the 49er, the skill that it needs to make the boat work and make the boat go faster is like interesting me a lot in the process. So I really like this upgrade.
How was my Brazilian?
It was really good.
Thank you. And a question from Maria. Would you say the physical or mental preparation was the most challenging? I'm guessing in the Olympics.
No, for sure the mental preparation. I mean, the physical is something that we need to do, and it's part of our routine. But the mental preparation stuff to be ready for everything that will come. Like the physical, you have a notion of what you will get, but the mental preparation will always be a bigger challenge in the process.
And now to the question that I was reading. How did you manage your nutrition during the games? Did you have any routines or drinks?
I have a small routine that I set on in Brazil. I did not follow it like really straight because I believe it's part of the mental preparation to have some rest of it as well, because all the days are already a lot of pressure. So letting yourself do some treat or get out to eat somewhere, it is something that may help a lot on this stress. But I have a routine that actually on the morning I was really straight to follow, because it is something that made my day like already starting on the morning, you know. So doing my breakfast and doing my stuff the way I like it to go to the sailing pit.
And another question from Tom Hughes. How did you know you wanted to go to the Olympics? We kind of
Well,
answered that partly.
as we said before, but like I believe I knew right on the beginning of my 49er Olympic sailing, because it was like the goal to doing that. But as I said as well, it was like much more of the process that I was living than just for the Olympic Games, like trying to have the most of this experience as possible and enjoying the process.
And last question, unless anybody else has other questions. Tough question by Theo de Vriend, I think Dutch. Why should you sail 29er?
Sorry, why?
Why should people sail the 29er?
No, I believe that when you are young and light, it is, of course, if you are not going for a foil stuff, but it is one of the fastest boats to sail, and it provides a lot of this interaction with other people, mostly of your age, and this creates an environment that you will get a lot of learning from life with these relationships and with this process of knowing the people that you are sharing this moment. So I don't know, I believe there's a lot of pros of going to a 29er, and I'm suspect to say because of the enjoy that I had on the boat, but it is like a pretty good boat to sail.
Awesome. Well, any more questions, anyone? We're about to end the call.
I believe we lost some of the
Yeah. So I
people.
guess that's it. Thank you so much for joining the call. I know you're very busy these days.
No problem.
And thank you everyone for joining also. And I hope you have a great weekend. And I might try and do a survey on social media and see if you want to keep doing these things with other people. So let's see how it goes. But thank you so much. Bye bye.
That's it. Bye
Ciao.
bye.
Thank you.
Ciao.